This was a topic from one of your Locked On Browns podcasts. Can Kevin Stefanski be trusted to develop the Browns quarterback?
I think this is the biggest test for Kevin Stefanski to still have to pass at this point in his tenure. And I know there's a lot of questions from some people about his ability as a head coach, questioning certain decisions, questioning play calling at times. I still think he's one of the better, more savvy offensive minds in this game, and I trust him in that regard. I don't know that Kevin Stefanski's ever been called a quarterback guru per se. Like certain coaches get that label. I don't know that he's ever been called that, but that is part of the job. That's part of the gig. And this is the one thing he hasn't really had to do yet, right? When he got here, he had Baker Mayfield. And I just think it's interesting to like look back at his time, his resume with the quarterbacks he's worked with to this point. Year one with Baker Mayfield was the best season of Baker Mayfield's career up until that point. And so I think people were optimistic, like, yeah, Kevin's the right guy for this quarterback, but also two developed quarterbacks. And then he takes the massive step back in year two. We know there were some injuries that were part of that equation. Year three is the Deshaun Jacoby Brissett year. And Jacoby Brissett had one of the better years of his career with Kevin Stefanski. So it's like, okay, there's something there. And then Deshaun had some moments, but it was obviously very fleeting. And then last year was a complete disaster. And really, the last 2 years, like Flacco is the one guy who's had the most success in Stefanski's offense, and that's not a guy that you're really developing because he's a 17-year veteran. Like he knows what he's doing. He's well experienced and versed in what you were trying to accomplish in that offensive scheme, and it was the right fit for him. But like we have not seen to this point, and I'm not going to put a lot of stock in like DTR and how that whole thing went. I think they drafted DTR with this understanding of maybe he makes it as a backup. There was no attempt at really making him your franchise quarterback. It was like a let's take a chance and see what happens. This is the first time Kevin Stefanski's getting a chance to, get his hands on two young quarterbacks and see what he can turn them into. And he might get a chance a second year in a row if he's still here next year to do the same thing if they draft a rookie in the first round, for example. So I'm fascinated to see what he does with this because to this point, the only evidence we have of him being good with quarterbacks is that 1 year with Baker Mayfield where he made him look better, and it was the best year of his career up until a point. But now Baker's looked even better elsewhere. And then some other veteran players, veteran quarterbacks who were already pretty established, and he just made them look better for where they were in their careers. So it's still a big question mark. It's probably the biggest thing that Kevin Stefanski has to answer for this season and beyond. And Andrew Berry will be judged too, based off of the quarterback that they identify and bring to this roster and try to turn into the franchise guy as well. So certainly something to keep an eye on throughout this season because this is the first attempt Kevin Stefanski's getting at trying to mold two young quarterbacks.
Yeah, and again, a lot of fans point to Baker Mayfield in particular. Remember, he went to Carolina, it didn't work out. He went to the
Yeah.
Rams, and Sean McVay got him playing okay, but he's playing better in Tampa Bay. Some of that is part of a quarterback kind of figuring out what it takes to be an NFL quarterback. And oh, by the way, he had Mike Evans as his wide receiver, who made Johnny Manziel a Heisman Trophy winner. Just remember that relative to Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay. I mean, Mike Evans is a Hall of Fame wide receiver.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, I mean that's a good point too. Like different situations entirely. And I think certainly like some of that too relates to Baker's maturity, right? Like
Absolutely.
he's talked a lot about his journey from some of the problems he had from a personality standpoint in Cleveland to and I think in a lot of ways like the trade from Cleveland humbled him in some regard, and he's kind of evolved and turned into this new quarterback on the other side of it all. So that's a factor here too. But I just don't know that we've seen yet Kevin Stefanski like really turn a young quarterback into something, and so that's the big thing that, like I said, him and Andrew Berry still have to kind of answer for.